The Red Sox and Yankees, rare is the year that they both finish in the bottom of the pack in the AL East. Rarer still is the following winter, when they get together on a trade. Not common trade partners. Alex Verdugo going to the Yankees. So a crowded outfield could even get more crowded with an additional Juan Soto.
Yeah, but I find it interesting. They gave up 3 pitchers. So now if they're throwing in pitchers in the Padre deal as well, who's going to pitch in the minor leagues for the Yankees? I guess they're not worried about that.
Good point.
And then the other thing that we will jump on as well, though, is if you get Verdugo, play left, he can play center, he can play right. You have Aaron Judge, who's a right fielder basically, has played center. If you get Soto, Soto's a left or right fielder. So you tell me Aaron Judge is going to play center for the Yankees?
I think that's what they're telling us.
I think that would be the plan because, so if you're thinking about Yankee Stadium, they have an interesting combination, right? Right field is one of the easiest places to play in the sport, and left field is among the toughest. So I actually think Verdugo, who's a superb corner outfielder, ends up in left. Judge ends up in center because I think the Yankees would argue Soto's going to play right. He's by far the weakest defender of that group. If they end up with him, that it would probably be less wear and tear on Judge to play center than to play left. And Judge actually has loved playing center field.
He played a nice center field.
The question is now, in his 30s, at his size, coming off a significant toe injury, how much stress you're going to put on it? Look, you hate to put the jinx on anything, but Brian Cashman did mention last month, right? The likelihood is next year at some point Giancarlo Stanton would get hurt. That will open up the DH spot, and that would solve a lot of this issue.
Is there any thought for you, Harold, that maybe similar to what we saw with Marco Gonzalez, right? Traded to the Braves, never put the uniform on. They peddle him off to the Pirates. That's what's happening with Verdugo.
Be moved.
That he's a piece to move.
I could see that. I wasn't thinking that way, but yes, that does make some sense.
Well, I'll tell you this is the Padres and the Red Sox during last season talked about Verdugo, but so did the Yankees. The Yankees like this player. I think the plan is to have him, not to spin him. I don't think that's 100%, but I think that the Padres would like to add the Korean outfielder Lee. That would be the moneyed player to replace Soto in the outfield. I think if it went perfect for them. And Verdugo, who we know they have, and Soto give the Yankees a couple of things they are desperate for. Lefty bats and guys who don't strike out much, right? They want to get to a different kind of team. And in Verdugo's case, he's a good defender. You know, the question I have is the Red Sox traded a player who they didn't have problems fitting in salary-wise. It isn't at a time they're loaded with corner outfielders. And they traded this player. We know he was pulled last year and then benched for a game for lack of hustle. You know, you wonder, this felt like a removal. Now, I've heard the Red Sox like the guy Richard Fitz in this, and so maybe the trade is attractive, but it felt like the Red Sox wanted to move on from a player here.
Yeah. Hold on, I want to jump in real quick before we move on to the next subject. I can see Verdugo being moved. Now, listen, who's with the Padres? Logan White. Logan's with the Dodgers forever. Actually, when Verdugo was a Dodger. So he knows the kid real well. So I could see them acquiring Verdugo. We've watched this happen before with a lot of these general managers, to move him to San Diego in that package.
That's exactly what I thought.
Now, here's the key. Remember, Grissom's name was talked about coming back to play center for the Yankees. Now it makes sense. I get Soto and I get a center fielder. I'll send Verdugo in a package to San Diego. That makes more sense. I don't see the Yankees. I don't see the Yankees putting Judge in center field for 162 games. I don't see that.
I will say this is Verdugo then would hold a unique place in the history of our sport. He would have been traded for both Mookie Betts and Juan Soto.
I can see it happen. That makes more sense to me than him, Soto, and Judge in the outfield.
To me, too. That's exactly why I asked you that question. I think it's a part of a bigger plan to send him to San Diego. But what remains to be seen, as you mentioned.